G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by the Astropub and old man hosting himself, Algared.
Two of these things belong together.
Yes, and one of these things
are almost the same.
belongs in the bin. Right.
Like the others.
Right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and thank you for those people that go the extra mile on Patreon at the end of this video in the credits. Right. With that then, first cab off the rank, I do want to address something that we didn't talk about on the, or two things actually, that we didn't talk about on the live stream this week. The F8C Lightning email. I think we'll do that one first.
We did mean to talk about that, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Flipped our mind. And then the coming soon schedule. So let's just get those out of the way real quick, real first. What's your take on it, Paul? Because I think Algared and I have kind of talked about this, and I'll let Algared speak to it. But yeah, what's your take on the F8C Lightning email?
So my initial thought was they're going to sell it. They're going to sell the F8C. And I'm not a fan of that idea, mostly because it's one of the few games that CIG has explicitly, repeatedly said that it was a reward for playing Squadron 42. It was a thing you could do, and then you could purchase it in-game. Gives you the rep rewards to be able to purchase it in-game. And so it's like, oh, this is nice. It's actual gameplay. It's actually something that we can reward for doing. But then I had a captain's table recently where someone said, well, what if they just give it to you? Because if you already have it. And I forgot that, like, yeah, there's a lot of us, myself included, who just has one of those ships in, like, apparently unlocked. So, tinfoil hat theory, right? Wearing my tinfoil hat. I should say.
I told you, Algared. We should have done that. I was saying to Algared for this episode, we should all wear tinfoil hats. Anyway.
Yep.
I'm wearing my Imperial regalia for my Imperial theory that I think Squadron 42 is going to be shown off at CitizenCon. This is adding to that whole tinfoil hat theory. So,
you need a voice changer for that one, man. It sounds a little weird.
I do.
Yeah. So Algared, I'll let you speak on it, and then anything I think you miss, I'll pick up on it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Look, I think it's very similar to what Paul said. They've always said that the F8C or the F8A or the Lightning was always the reward for doing Squadron 42. You complete that, you unlock it, you can earn it in Star Citizen. So I don't think they're going to sell it. I think it's people getting it up there, wazoo, and being rumour mongering and all the rest of it. I think get a life, get a grip. I don't think they're going to sell it. I think, though, for those people who have it already attributed because it's a back reward for having spent obscene amounts of cash, it appears they may be giving that out. As a gift, it could even just be one of those small little models of an F8C that's being attributed to backers.
And I think the other one I'll add there, then, Algared, is we also thought that it could potentially just be it's unlocked in game to earn.
And that's a possibility as well.
As a gift for, for those that have backed up until now, everyone else that comes after the anniversary, so to speak, or after the birthday, they have to unlock it in game like normal. So it's like a gift to those that have got them to this point.
And the other question I've got about the F8 Lightning is it the military version that we unlock after doing Squadron 42, or was it the citizen version or the civilian version? So there could be a distinction there. I don't know. I can't recall them ever saying whether it was the military version we unlocked.
All right. So then the last thing is the schedule for CitizenCon. First time ever, and I just asked Paul this before, and he said the same, and I believe Algared said the same as well, is it says coming soon. Now, we've never seen a coming soon schedule before, according to us three.
Well,
I'll let you...
I would like to correct it. I have seen a coming soon screen before. I've never seen a coming soon screen 2 weeks before the event is live. They almost always fill out that idea within a month before the actual event is live, which is weird.
As you were saying earlier, the only time we can recall it ever being was back in the days when I was scrambling to get content for those events because they didn't know what was going to be in it, like back in 2016. We're no longer in that time. We're in a time where they know exactly what's going in.
Yeah, so it's really obvious that there's something on the schedule that they kind of is a surprise surprise, you know. And then I also think with the announcement of the F8 Lightning and the birthday coming up, and they specifically mentioned for the birthday in the email, I think the schedule and this will drop at the same time. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's kind of what I'm suspecting, because it's all going to be like it is an announcement. And I did say this couple of weeks ago, like if it's a coming soon and we've never seen a coming soon, it's because they want to announce it, and it will be with some fanfare. So I'm expecting a fanfare come Tuesday, Wednesday.
What was the thing they announced way back in the beginning that started the ball rolling? It was Squadron 42. The rumor in my head has been vastly overrated. So Squadron 42, the F8C reported reward for doing Squadron 42, and a coming soon announcement.
Yeah.
That all seems to say, or point to the thing that we've been saying all year. Squadron 42 is right round the bend.
And you'd agree with that one, Ocean Paul?
Yeah, I mean, like, there are so many. There gets to a point when there are so many coincidences that it's not a coincidence, and there's so many things that CIG has done that seem like coincidences in isolation, but when you combine them together, they just add onto the pile of like CIG is definitely doing something with Squadron 42 just round the bend, and they're definitely going to do something with CitizenCon for it. So
and
just
and no doubt you've done the reading of the Squadron 42 monthly report already. So people should go and listen to your reading.
Oh, I haven't recorded it yet.
Oh, you haven't.
I'm recording it. I'm recording it for it'll be a week from now because I wait for it to go out for everybody before I do it. But yeah,
but you've read that clearly,
yes,
already, and you'd agree with me that there's so much in this one that's just finishing record, you know, polishing, finishing, doing background scenes of the main scene, so that to fill them out, it's all that real little stuff, bug fixing. All of those types of things are in that monthly report, and it's just
all right. So onto the meat and potatoes of this episode, because that all that stuff about it coming kind of does follow a little bit onto what we're going to talk about today, and that's that Squadron 42 is more than likely coming to consoles next year, along with the PC. And we've talked about this on and off for a while. Those of you that have followed the project for a long time will probably already know a lot of what we're going to talk about here today, but we've also got a couple of other sources that have given us some, let's just say, confirming details to this, and we'll talk about that in the video. I don't know, Algared, I'll let you kick it off then. The early days. As I'll put that.
Yeah, well, as I said, the very first, if you'll recall, the very first mentions of Squadron 42 were launching the Kickstarter, and the rumors of my death are vastly overrated, and it was for Squadron 42. You know, when you backed the game, you were backing Squadron 42 as a computer game for the PC. Star Citizen, the PU, was kind of an add-on that was going to come after. It's kind of been flipped because they're using PU as kind of a test bed for things as well, you know, to help them. But yeah, it was always Squadron 42, and so it was always going to be a PC game. Where are we coming from?
Do either of you remember the very first time it kind of flared up when there was, I can't remember what it was even called back then, before I saw ISC, before Around the Verse, they were doing
Wingman's Hangar.
It must have been Wingsman Hangar, yeah. They were doing a tour of one of the offices, and it was an Xbox or a Sony console was spotted.
It was a PS3 development kit.
That's what it was.
So.
Yeah. And
I actually thought that was after Wingman's Hangar.
Or it was PS4. It was a PS4 development kit.
But it was,
but the point is, that was the real first time it kind of flared up in my mind. And so that's kind of where all this started, is like, and they would say Star Citizen's not coming to consoles, but they've never once said Squadron 42's not coming to consoles. And I think that's where it all started for me. Paul, would you have you got any other earlier recollections than that?
No, that was the one, because there was a big
there was a big kerfuffle over
it. So there was a big kerfuffle over it, and it was brought up on the Reverse the Verse, which was their version of Star Citizen Live at the time. And it was the person on that Star Citizen Live, or that Reverse the Verse, was Ben Lesnick. And Ben Lisnick, the people kept asking the question, and Ben looked directly into the camera after it had been asked so many times and said, every single Wing Commander game that Chris Roberts has made has been on console. And that line has never left me.
Yeah.
It's like, so CIG is planning on releasing it to console. The big thing, and I think that people forget, is that at that time period, and even today, games were not developed for PC. They were developed for console and then ported to PC.
Yep.
But in the glory days of, like, I guess, 4th gen, I can't remember which generation console, the PS3, Xbox 360 era, you had games that were built on PC and then ported to console.
Yep.
And it was around that same era when that started to swap, because those game consoles became powerful enough to deal with PC games.
Well, it's also what publishers wanted. Publishers wanted consoles because they made more money on console. That's what they wanted. And they kept on saying, again, that's why that Kickstarter video of Star Citizen was so refreshing, because they were promising PC gaming as it wasn't dead. And they were trying to convince us it was dead because they just wanted to make more money. And, as now time's gone by, it's completely flipping to go back to what it was. So, yeah.
Yeah. But my point is that, that doesn't surprise me. I will say I do have some serious questions about timing for Squadron 42's release, which is for console. Because I personally, unless they've been hiding this very well, have not seen any evidence that Squadron 42 is being developed for console inside Star Citizen, inside CIG. You would have seen or heard something about a console development team that exists, because it's not like a Switch. You can't just flip a switch and then release it to PC.
Okay, so when Master Modes dropped recently, I thought, wow, this is for controllers, because it was so auto-aimed. It's not funny.
But I'm not talking about the design of the game. I'm talking about the hardware. Like, the actual process of developing a game for a console is completely different from developing a game for a PC, because there's very specific requirements. You have to do a lot of specific testing, and you have to have like the equipment on hand to test it. There's a long process. Now, there is modes that you can do on.
We haven't seen Squadron 42 though. So they never would have. So essentially, that this is two channels there.
They do tell us a lot about Squadron 42's development, and of all of the leaks, I have not seen or heard one slip up or any kind of like revelation that Squadron 42 is going to consoles. So I don't deny that Squadron 42 is going to go to consoles, or that CIG may be even kind of in that process. But I do deny the idea that Squadron 42 is going to release at the same time to consoles as PC, because there's just no evidence of those teams existing to port over from PC to console, because it's a lot more complicated than people take it. It's not a Switch. It's not like the same thing. There's definitely some issues, and there is a way you can do it, but it's very janky. It would be terrible.
I don't think we've seen enough to call that either way, but I will agree with you. It can be later than the same time, but it could be the same time. But I don't think I've seen enough evidence to go either way personally. But I do agree with you. That is a potential. The other one I wanted to talk about was every time they've done a demo, it's been with a controller.
That's true.
So and that, they've told us, that's for cinematic reasons, but even going all the way back to the Kickstarter video, Chris was sitting there with an Xbox controller. So what do you call it, Algared? You call it controls agnostic, I think you called it, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I can recall Chris constantly saying. He wanted the game. When people were saying, "Oh, I want joysticks," it always came across as, no, we want all controllers to be able to use mouse, keyboard, game pads, as well as joysticks. He wanted it controller agnostic, so not just being for one set controller, so that everyone could play. And I think that's, if you take that view, Chris wants everyone to play, or be able to play, and I think that goes back into the whole idea of Squadron 42 going to console as well. And I think the key thing is, it's not a game that's been built for console. It's a game that's been built for PC that can be ported to console, not a console game that is getting rammed into a PC game. And that's the key thing that people keep forgetting.
I think we can all agree on that. Right. So another point, and I'm going to give 2 points here because I think they kind of go together a little bit. They've never said Squadron is not coming for consoles, but they have said Star Citizen's not coming to consoles. And the reason I think that is, right, and Paul, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well, and Algared, is the way the servers or the back end works, right? Essentially, it's tied to Amazon servers, and basically you would have to work with Microsoft for Xbox and PlayStation, or Sony for PlayStation, to get that to work. And it is more of a customized back end specifically built for Amazon servers. So that's a shit ton of work. Right? Where when I sit down and I play Squadron 42 on my PC, and Paul and Algared do the same on those, and Joe Blogg sits down on his PlayStation or my Xbox, it's a separate experience. They don't cross-pollinate. I'm not going to destroy Algared's choices that he makes in his campaign when I go full evil and kill the entire universe if that's what I choose to do. It's my experience, so it doesn't interfere with anyone else's. So that's fine. Right, so I've got no problem with someone playing on a console because it's not going to interfere with my experience at all. But as soon as you put that into a multiplayer arena, we're cross-pollinating, we're getting controller versus keyboard and joystick and all those problems that come associated with that. And also we've got different power requirements. And what I mean by that is most people would agree with me that consoles are just not as powerful as PC, right? So they're going to stagnate the growth. And we've seen that in games just this generation. Like, look at Cyberpunk, where they tried to put it on the older consoles and it just didn't work. It went to shit, right? And it's taken them 3 years to fix that.
Well, console's another great example of my point is that like it works okay on PC, but it's terrible on consoles. And it seems like that points to the fact that like you have to develop for consoles. You can't just like kind of stuff it in there. You have to kind of rework it. So
goes the other way too. I agree. Look at Starfield.
Yeah.
All those hold button controls were driving me absolutely mental. And if I ever play that again, oh man, the number of times I'd be in combat in a ship and I'd get out of the chair.
Yeah. All the time. All the time.
Console game setup, was it? Or
it basically had a press and hold mechanic. Because, like, again, with the controller, if you can press a key or hold a key, it essentially gives you more keys when you've got less. But again, I'm on a keyboard. I've got every key under the sun. Just, undo that system for PC and let me bind my own keys. But they just didn't have that in because clearly Microsoft had brought them out and then they just tailored it at consoles because that's what Microsoft wanted. So, yeah. All right. So, the next 2 pieces here, I've kind of been I had to talk with these guys about how we're going to present this because we've had some sources that have come to us and it's 2 big pieces of information. I think the first one we'll talk about is that apparently Sony and Microsoft will be visiting CIG to try the game. And that is enough to tell me that it's coming to console with at least some definity. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? I'm not surprised. I know you guys aren't surprised. And does it really hurt you that it's coming to Sony, like coming to the Sony PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox? It doesn't me. So I kind of put that to you boys. Does it surprise you or hurt your feelings?
I'll start by saying I don't care either way. I mean, there are some people who are absolute rabid fanatics about Star Citizen being a PC-only game that they lose their mind. But I think most people just don't want to have Star Citizen be compromised or Squadron 42 be compromised because it has to be a Squadron 42 or be a console game. They which I get, I understand. But and a lot of people also will say that they don't see that as possible because there's too many controls in Star Citizen. And the response I always have is, what do you think Master Modes is developed for? It's for multiple reasons, but it's definitely one of those things. So just in general, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that if it's true or not, because, remember we all talked about that earlier, which was CIG was given a free PS4 development kit. So obviously Sony was interested back in like 2013. And do you think that CIG or Sony and Microsoft aren't looking at the amount of money that CIG has raised and going, I would enjoy a piece of this action?
And Microsoft is also, they know what Chris Roberts' games are like.
Yeah.
because
They brought out a studio with him. So
they brought out the studio, and so they know. So they'd be wanting to get on it, especially having seen the money that's being generated.
Yeah. So what we're talking about there specifically is Freelancer. They brought out, what was it, Anvil? God, I always forget the name of it, Anvil something. But that they were the people that made Freelancer. Essentially, they published Freelancer. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing that I think with that is I really don't mind, because if you open up Squadron 42 to console, that's increasing the market. And that means they'll make more sales. That means they'll make more profit. That means there'll be more stuff and money available to expand and develop Squadron PU. So, and the other branches of and the other installments of Squadron. So for me, it's a win-win-win.
I've just remembered one that we completely forgot. Sandy and Chris were in May this year. Were at they were on a video call to Shanghai, and Sandy kind of off the cuff said, "What are you looking forward more to playing on, a console or on PC?" The fact that she's even entertaining that question now, a lot of people at the time said that's a marketing question. Cool, but why are you doing a marketing for consoles at all if it's not a thought? But as I said, if we've got sources that are telling us that Sony and Microsoft are coming to visit the studio, that tells you right there why are they even entertaining that idea? So yeah.
And going back to that point, I remember at the time, because I remember us looking at it, because people had been saying, Chris looks at her to say, "What the are you doing?" And we looked at that and we're going, no, he's not looking at it like that. He's just looking at, that's Sandy doing her stuff. Yeah, that was the impression I got. It's just, that's my wife. She's doing her job.
She's back.
She's back. She
So
wasn't no, what the hell are you doing? It's don't tell them. It was. You could see there was a wasn't a shock horror look. It was just a supportive Chris being Chris to Sandy. It was nothing strange.
And then this last bit of information is the one I'm holding back on quite a bit. But basically, sources have also told us that there's a potential distributor being found. And they've given us the name, but I don't think we're going to share that. Basically, because we don't want to put any potential deals at risk by letting that information out. But one of the reasons why that's really good, though, and it's also required. Oh, Algared, I'll let you speak to this because you spoke to it really well before.
Well, every one of the old backers, I know Paul, X, myself, we've all got packs that have a box set, and so you need a distributor to actually distribute those box sets. Now, if you've already got to create couple of 100,000 box sets, making more box sets and selling them in shops is more profit. So a distributor to me is just absolutely a no-brainer.
Well, they have the connections to the printing, of boxes and duplicators of CDs or DVDs or whatever it's going to be and things like that as well. So they've got the contacts for that. So they're essentially acting as a distributor,
a middleman.
Yeah, middleman. Yeah. That's another way to look at it. So
the other thing to look at it is that any potential distributor that they're dealing with right now for PC is also going to be a potential distributor for future console release as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
They have any distributor's going to have worldwide reach.
Yep.
And because of the nature of the game, and they'll get a cut of those sales because. Anything that's physical copy, they're going to get a certain amount back. So if they think they can get enough, that's good. And that's one of the reasons why we don't want to talk about who the names that were dropped, because if we talk about the names that were dropped, then it could cause more problems because we don't know the situation. All we know is what were given us. So
I think
potentially millions of dollars on the line.
We don't want CIG blackballing us.
Yeah. So long story short, but what you said there, a global reaching distributor is what we're talking about, and it's a very good one, and I think it'll be very good for the game. I think the other thing that we'll point up as well is there is an older demographic to this game, so retail is going to be a market that'll hit fairly well. So what is in the state? GameStop, EB Games in Australia. I think they call it Game in the UK. All those types of retailers are really going to want to be on board. And again, if it's going into the console market as well, that is a more of a retail thing. I know you can do digital distribution, and they're really if you guys saw the Xbox leak, the next Xbox doesn't have a drive. Like they are really pushing for that. But by the same token, why I know that a lot of people are going to push back against that is if you've seen what's happened with the PS5, they had a disc version and a non-disc version, and so many people thought, oh yeah, I'll buy this one because it's $250 cheaper. I tried to tell my brother this. Literally 2 weeks later, he took it back and got the other one because the prices on the store for digital were just way higher than you could get. And I remember at the time there was I can't remember the game it was, but there was a game that he found in a retail bin for $20. They were selling it for $80 full price on the store. So you're just it's gonna just end up costing you more. And again, when everything goes digital, it removes that secondhand market. I can't just take my copy and give it to Paul. Paul has to buy a whole new copy. So
no buying old games at a discount. You buy old games for a premium.
Yeah, and it's awesome. There's a whole movement at the moment online around Blu-rays and DVDs and movies and stuff because of the streaming services. So one thing you might not know, Paul, here in Australia, Disney has actually stopped making Blu-rays. They just canned it to try and they're testing it because what they're hoping is they'll get more pickup subscriptions for Disney Plus.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
And Netflix,
terrible idea.
And Netflix has tried the password sharing thing here. You know, the anti-password thing, and it didn't go well in the States, and it won't go well here. It's like they've forgotten that Australians are the biggest pirators in the world. So all they've done,
a bunch of criminals.
They've just well, no, we were like when piracy was really rampant back in before 2010,
because the cost was so high.
The cost was so, and what they found was when Netflix came along and removed that supply, it was a supply issue. Right. And it was all being fed through this one company here, and their prices were exorbitantly high. So people went elsewhere. It's just going to be the same thing again. As soon as you remove the physical media and you are forced to go somewhere and buy all this stuff just to get that one little thing that you want. And not only that, you've got to subscribe to it. Right. So it's not as if you can just buy it once and you own it. People are going to go back to piracy. It's the same thing. And yeah. Anyway. All right, I think that's about everything. Algared, is there anything you want to add in the comments, or what would you like to hear from people in the comments below? I should ask.
Are we crazy?
Oh yeah, we're crazy.
We're crazy.
Oh yeah, we're crazy.
You know?
All right,
Yep,
Paul, your thoughts?
I want to hear them to tell them if like those people who would like would you significantly pull back your support for Star Citizen or Squadron 42 if they released it on console? Is that like a breaking point for you? Is like if they release a game or promise to release a game on console, would you be like, nope, not gonna? I don't want to support this game anymore because I only want to play a PC game. So,
I want to hear from people in the comments if they realize why this is good for Star Citizen, and I think the really obvious one for me is it's a financial one. It makes the company make more money. So the game that we want to play, which a lot of people say, oh, I'm not interested in Squadron 42. But if you understand what Squadron 42 is doing for Star Citizen, it is setting Star Citizen up for success. And if you are literally allowing it to come to console and we're taking in all those consolers' money, that's all going to be pushed into Star Citizen. And they're not even going to play Star Citizen because for the reasons we stated with the back end. So we're essentially taking from the console peasants and using it for the PC. And I think that's really good for us. So if you can actually look past that you're giving up Squadron 42 or sharing it with console users, what we're gaining in return is far, far more, right? It's almost like not a blindside, but like I don't know what to call that, but you know what I mean? That we're using like, here you go, you can have this. And I do think it will bring people into PC gaming because then they'll know that, Star Citizen exists and it's something they might want to play more. Well, at least what I'm hoping. So I'd like to hear that in the comments from you guys. Do you realize what this is doing for Star Citizen, in short? Right. Where can people find you on the interwebs, Mr. Paul, or aka Astropub?
Yeah. YouTube.com/The Astropub Live, Twitch.tv/The Astropub, and YouTube.com/The Astrohistorian if you like my lore content. So,
and what type of things do you do there besides feet pics? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I won't go there again. The last time I did that, Paul got really angry with me. I should not do that again. I just had that comedy relief thing in my head. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Don't send feet pics to Paul. It gets him really nervous. Right. Paul, what do you do on your channel? Sorry.
I mostly do. I do coverage of Star Citizen news and events. I do the Captain's Table, which I do on Saturdays, which is I guess now officially the longest running Star Citizen podcast that's still around. It's dedicated to Star Citizen. I also with the Astro Historian, I do lore. So I do mostly Star Citizen, but I've been branching out to do lore for Starfield, and I'll probably do a little bit of lore for Titanfall because that's got a new update, and I love me some stompy fighty robots. So
you're probably the biggest.
Exciting.
You're probably the biggest lore master here. I said Algared would probably be just behind you, wouldn't he? You and Algared would be the top two for sure. And you still do. Do you still doing that? You guys still both doing that? The lore pass podcast that you guys do.
We haven't done the lore podcast in a while. We'll get back onto it a bit. I just we need to do a readjusting because it's hard to do it between 3 different parts of the world.
Welcome to my world. Yeah. I can relate. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
The Law Citizen podcast is an Englishman. It's like an American, Australian, and Englishman went into a pub.
Yeah.
I love those worst jokes. All right. Other than that, he's been Astropub. He's been Algared. I've been Execute.
We're out of here.
Catch you next one.